WIFTV PM. WIFTV PM. WIFTV PM.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
When you need vibrant, colorful gear that offers high-performance material that keeps you cool, call Agent Huff Custom Gear. Let us take your expressions and create something new for your everyday wear, your bedroom, or bath. For all your needs, we offer custom sublimation, silkscreen, vinyl, and embroidery. You can reach us on all things social at Superhero Huff. www.superherohuff.com or 630-476-9191.
WIFTV PM.
Live from What's in It for the Black Media Studio. You're listening to I Said What I Said.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you're listening to I Said What I Said.
I just said that.
I know you just said that.
That's what I just said.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Exactly what he just said.
With Herb Howard and Toussaint Werner.
That's about one of the nicest things you've ever said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Great afternoon to you wonderful people. Welcome to this Monday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios. My name is Herb Howard. His name is Toussaint Werner. This is I Said What I Said. Each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. we get together right here with you and we discuss issues that are impacting the black community, how those things are impacting the black community, impacting us as individuals, but also how they're impacting us as a collective. And along with your help, we try and talk through many of these issues in hopes of finding the best solutions for how we can overcome many of the obstacles that we face. Again, overcome them as individuals, but more importantly, overcome them as a collective. We are so grateful that you have chosen to be a part of this conversation. Thank you all so very much. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. Anything that you want to add to the conversation as we go, feel free to leave it in the comments. We will read through as many of them as we possibly can. Also, please take a quick moment to share the conversation. We would greatly appreciate that if you share the conversation to your personal page. Share it even within your personal network. Anyone that you think would either add value to or find value in this particular conversation, we welcome them to be a part of it. It is our belief that the more like-minded individuals that we can get to be a part of this conversation, the better the opportunity we have of reaching the optimum solutions going forward. So please take a quick moment to share it if you will. Also, if you would like to contribute, if you feel so inclined to contribute to the show, you are able to do that by clicking on the little gold stars in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We certainly appreciate every single one of those. So thank y'all so much again for tuning in. This is I Said What I Said. My name is Herb Howard. His name is Tucson Werner. What is happening, good brother?
Man, I'm maintaining, brother. I'm maintaining, blessing, highly favored. What's up with you?
Ain't nothing to it, man. Just chilling. Kind of tired today, man. Like I was hanging out watching the Bears game yesterday. You and I had a photo shoot yesterday morning that started at like 8:00, or it's supposed to start at 8:00, and then I showed up at like 8:30.
Herb doing Herb.
But we had a photo shoot yesterday morning, and we're certainly looking forward to bringing you guys those photos when they are ready. It was really, really dope. We think that there was some pretty cool content created during the photo shoot, but we'll see how that turns out. Either way, we did that first thing in the morning, and then one of the places that we were one of the sets that we used for a photo shoot was the Dusable Museum. And so as we were leaving from doing the scene there, the shots there, we noticed that there was just a lot of activity around. A lot of people setting up. There was some guy like setting up like a clothing vendor. He was like selling like old, like, you know, used clothes and whatnot. And there was a lady setting up like microphones and sound equipment and all this other stuff. And there was some other guys doing a photo shoot out in the lawn. And then there was across the street, there were a few Bears fans that started to like assemble over there, right? They had their big Bears tents and their jerseys and all these things. So I went over there, I'm like, bro, what y'all doing over here? Y'all finna watch the game out here in the park? And he's like, yeah, we sit out here and watch the game. We grill our food. We set the TV up. And he's like, they do the a stepper set over there on Sundays, right out there in front of Dusable Museum. And so, so once I saw that, I was like, that's kind of a good idea. And you told me that last week they were doing it over at Hayes on 63rd and Hayes, right off the lakefront, kind of where they do the house picnic. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, well, that's closer to the crib. I'll swing by there and see if that's happening. And sure enough, when I went over there, it was going on. So I stopped and I just asked them, I said, y'all accept guests at this Bears party? And bro was like, yeah, man, you know, you come through, you bring a bottle, or you can or contribute like $25 to the bar, something like that. So I was like, cool. I just went to the crib and grabbed the lawn chair or whatever, and I came back and hung out there, and it was really, really cool experience. You know, it was out in the park, so people had their spacing, whatever, and sat in their lawn chairs and watched the game, and they had food out there and the bar and all that. It was a really, really good time, but a lot of alcohol was consumed. A lot.
So you was out there drunk, cheering for that terrible team?
A lot. First of all, the Bears were 2-0.
Yeah, but they're still a terrible team.
The Bears are 2-0.
All by luck.
Right? They couldn't be any better right now. They haven't looked that good, to be honest with you.
They can't finish fourth quarter.
Yeah, they haven't looked that good. They haven't played a complete game yet. I would say they've played about 3 solid quarters out of the 8 that they've played so far. All right, they played a good first half yesterday, and they've had 1 good quarter in week 1. So 3 out of 8, they haven't looked real good. Nonetheless, they're 2-0, and we'll take that.
So, you know, I'm not really watching football.
I know.
I'm not really watching any sports, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And this, you know, it's not like a political stance, and I just don't got time right
Sure.
now, to be honest with you. I do have some political stances surrounding some of the ideologies around those sports teams
Sure.
and programs, but specifically, more importantly, I just haven't had time. Mm-hmm. But I just so happened to be at a meeting Sunday. I had to go to a meeting after that photo shoot, and they had the Bears game playing with the sound off. And, you know, so I saw the whole fourth quarter, even though I was trying to not watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's there. Like,
but they are the Bears.
They are the Bears.
And the thing that's funny about the Bears is that, and this is interesting, just if you like juxtapose it just to people, right? Mm-hmm. They start strong.
Yeah.
And this is not this year. This is traditionally over my lifespan in a lot of ways, but they can't finish strong. Right, and I think that's in a lot of ways that's an analogy or representation of a lot of folks. Right,
Sure.
Winners finish strong.
Sure.
Right,
Sure.
Everybody can start strong.
Yeah, start off fast and you wheezing in the back.
Strong. You start off fast, but then you wheezing in the back.
Right.
Yeah, that's real talk. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. But the most interesting part of that day for me, right? Shout out to my Aunt Toy, man. My Aunt Toya Werner Martin, the best photographer in the city of Chicago. We're going to give Said J a strong, solid number 2 because I know Said is listening.
Said is the man.
But yeah, we went out and did that photo shoot thing, man, and I'm just uncomfortable with that, right? I'm kind of I'm a man's man, to put it.
You're a different kind of light skinned cat.
Yeah, I'm not light skinned like that. You know what I mean?
Even though you got baby hairs and all that.
Whatever.
Different kind of cat.
It's just not my thing, right? It's not posing and wearing certain clothes
it's a little awkward
for certain reasons. And looking this way for the camera. This is very uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was tired just trying to strain my face to smile. It just wasn't good for me. You know, it's a very uncomfortable situation.
Yeah. So after we did that, I went out there to the game. A lot of alcohol was consumed. The Bears won, and so I was in the crib. I was asleep by like 6 o'clock. I was knocked out. Like I was out of the game. It was over with. I was passed out, and so Esco back there screaming like, "Me too! I was asleep too."
I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
They calling you Hangover Herb in the comments.
Hangover Herb.
Hangover.
First
Herb.
of all, I'm not hungover. All right,
Double H.
but I was asleep by like 6 o'clock, and so then what happened was I woke up at like 1:30 this morning, and now I woke up and I'm sober and I'm woke, and so I've been woke now since like 1:30. Right, and you know, so I'm a little sluggish, but you know, Izwiz always gives me the energy. It's absolutely a great time to be here with you guys. We got a great show planned for you guys today as well. We're going to be speaking with the founder of The Source magazine, Dave Mays, will be joining us at 1:30, as will Bakari Kitwana. Right, they have
also editor in chief of The Source and the founder of Rap Sessions.
Right,
you know
right.
What I mean, so Bakari's a big time guy in his own right.
Oh, no doubt about it. Absolutely thrilled to be having him come on the show, as well as Dave Mays, and they have a hip hop summit, a hip hop political summit coming up. They want to discuss. They're going to try and leverage hip hop's platform to activate a sometimes dormant demographic in terms of voter turnout, right? So they're trying to get people to engaged, and so we're going to see how they plan to leverage that thing and what ultimately they're trying to get out of it. There's some interesting conversations that we want to have with both of them, so that's going to be coming up here at 1:30. Looking forward to having those brothers on too. That was a good pull from you.
Yeah, man, I think it should be an interesting conversation, right? There's an interesting juxtaposition in the sense that me personally, I can only speak for me, right? I'm kind of withholding the black vote. You know what I mean? That's my personal opinion in this very moment, right? And I say that in the sense,
but be clear of how you want to withhold it.
Yeah, just not withholding it for the sake of withholding it. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? But withholding it in the sense of going in to vote down ballot. I think there's a level of power that the black community has in this particular moment. And we might have to eat some sacrifices at this very moment, but in eating those sacrifices, they kind of prepare us for the next election cycle in a way that we've never been prepared before. Now, there's a lot of backlash around that kind of thought process, because traditionally what we do is just we go in and follow suit. We toe the company line. You got to vote for the lesser of two evils, and this is what's been offered, and yada, yada, yada. You know, all those kind of narratives that's kind of been created for us. And you know, it's interesting, man. I was having a conversation with Salim and Mays outside of the show before we started, and you know, they were talking about something different, and one of the things that one of the monikers that me and you all often talk about is there's really only one conversation. We keep having the same conversation, but it's around it shows up in different ways, right? So the conversation for me in regards to race in America, until it is addressed, politics is kind of a foregone conclusion, because they'll pander to you, they'll talk to you, they'll offer you all kind of stuff, but once they get what they need, they abandon ship. And from that vantage point, if we understand that perspective, then where does our power lie? True. And if our power lies in the vote, and it does lie in the vote, in my opinion, it's how do we wield that vote, right? We think about it from the standpoint of numbers. We're only 12% of the American population, 12 to 13% or something like that, right? But in regards to the Democratic Party, right, we're the most consistent voting bloc in the Democratic Party, and that's always interesting, because there's always this narrative about what black people need to do and how we fall short. But in regards to every ethnic group on this here American soil, we are the most dedicated voting bloc. You know what I mean? We come out at numbers that equate everybody else's ethnic group. So when you start thinking about the Republican Party specifically, those are white folks. That's just what it is. Right? The nation is split in half. And those white folks are dedicated to those concepts. And now you might get a few here and there that switch the line. One time they're more independent voters, but mostly it's white folks. It's dedicated white folks. And then you start thinking about the Democratic Party, right? That's everybody else. Those are the liberal thinkers. But the consistent is the black populace. Right? So as the consistent, we really do wield some power. And if we wield some power, then you got to give me something.
You must.
And thus far, I can't tell where we're getting something.
No, I don't think.
All the thing I think we're getting right now is let me see. Last time we got offered some hot sauce in the bag. This time we're getting offered some Timbs. We got a tan suit one time.
We got a saxophone.
Saxophone. We got a saxophone. But I'm looking at the homeless population on the south side of Chicago.
Oh my God,
increase every day.
We saw that firsthand yesterday.
I'm looking at drug addiction increase every day.
Sure.
I'm looking at schools closing every day. Right. I'm looking at making decisions around my son and daughter's future based on issues that I shouldn't have to make decisions around.
Right.
For a 11 and a 15-year-old.
Right.
For a 12 and a 15-year-old.
Right.
So it's outrageous, man. A tan suit ain't gonna cover that. A saxophone ain't gonna cover that. Hot sauce in the bag ain't gonna cover that. Some fake Timbs ain't gonna cover that.
Fake Timbs.
I'm tired of having them kind of conversations. So let's leverage this power and get something for real.
Why the Lady Tim got to be fake? Listen, we got
to fake, Joe.
Were they?
They was shims.
I haven't seen shims. That was Birdman's. That was the lug joints.
They was the lug joints.
Listen, we got to take our first break. When we come back, we will dive deeper into this conversation. And again, we'll be joined at 1:30 by Bakari Kitwana and Dave Mays. We'll have that conversation at 1:30. This is I Said What I Said. Herb and 2 here with you to 3 o'clock. We'll be right back.
WIFTBPM.
This secure moment is brought to you by Secure Home and Automation, your premier authorized Bring security dealer. Home invasions occur every 23 seconds, fire every 85 seconds, and medical emergencies occur suddenly. In times like these, get secured home and automation and an affordable wireless home alarm system with professional monitoring. This includes fast emergencies response, free security analysis, free equipment, and free installation. A limited time offer, be proactive. Call today, don't delay. 708-251-5069. That's 708-251-5069. Call now, 708-251-5069, or visit our website, securehomeandautomation.com. Secure Home and Automation, where your life safety is our priority. It brings authorized dealers, certain restrictions apply.
WIFTBPM. WIFTBPM.
Live from What's in It for the Black Media Studio. You're listening to I Said What I Said.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you're listening to I Said What I Said.
I just said that.
I know you just said that.
That's what I just said.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Exactly what he just said.
With Herb Howard and Toussaint Werner.
That's about one of the nicest things you ever said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
We are back live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios. This is I Said What I Said. Herb Howard, Toussaint Werner here with you till 3 o'clock. Thank y'all so very, very much for tuning in. It's very, very good to see all of you all. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube as well. We see you guys watching live on the Mays Jackson page. I see a lot of IzWiz OGs in the comments already. Always good to see the IzWiz OGs popping up. What's up, Mays?
I'm just checking to make sure you didn't get a call.
No, not yet. I don't think so. Let me know how that actually pops up. This will be the first time we did the virtual interview. All right, cool. Appreciate you. Thank y'all so much for choosing to tune in. I hope you guys have had an opportunity to share the page, to share the conversation on your personal page, or let somebody know. Text a friend, say, "Hey, them two cool ass dudes is doing what they do right now. They do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Y'all should check them out." Right? Put somebody else on. Don't be selfish with us. We love y'all. It's plenty of us to go around. Shut up, Adrian.
One we forgot about, we said the saxophone and the tan suit and all that. But one we forgot was Cherie Chapman just said we also got everybody in the kente cloth suits.
Yes,
I forgot about that.
Did.
One, right?
They was in the State House like.
Yeah, that one was that was like the pinnacle.
Yeah, that was the worst.
Right.
That was the worst.
Over the top.
That was the worst. That was like
kneeling at that.
That was like worse than the NFL having all black people sing the national anthem like the opening week of the football season.
Very similar to everybody in the NBA wearing Black Lives Matter and all the other monikers on the back of their jersey.
Unbelievable.
Man, we fall for the symbolism game often.
Yeah, you can tell like what people think about you by what they try to use to leverage you with, how they treat you, right? This is where I value it. I'll treat you like this. Whether you're talking about a personal relationship, man to woman, or whatever it may be, or you're talking about the relationship that black people have with the United States of America and the larger corporations that are at play here. Like, they don't really think much about us in terms of what they need to give us for us to be satisfied or stay in our place.
You know what though, man? Here's something that's interesting. I know we had a conversation from the perspective of blackness because we black, and there's just, you can't avoid that.
Blackity black.
Right, but it's really not a black thing. It's a human thing, right? The power elite control the less fortunate or the disenfranchised, they manipulate them with imagery most times, right? It's imagery, imaging and messaging dictates behavior. That's really true. So just this week, man, I watched this documentary on Netflix called Capitalism.
Yeah.
And it broke down, how capitalism works. And there was one portion in there that, a lot of the information I already had, but there was one portion in there that just kind of dawned on me. And this stuff happens. You hear these conversations and you think about it and you be like, damn, man, that's real. But it don't even be deep thought, nothing like that, right? So when you think about the context of American capitalism and what fueled it, outside of the system of slavery that fueled it, it was cotton that fueled it, right? And when you think about the value of cotton, right? What is the value of cotton? It mainly creates like clothing, right? And you think about that, and you say to yourself, "Damn, being fresh fueled 400 years of oppression."
Yeah,
being fresh fueled 400 years of oppression.
Yeah, but they built an entire country on what they could do with cotton, which it ain't a whole lot. You can make some clothes, you can make some pillows. Like it ain't a whole lot to be done.
But conceptually, right? You think about it, like
right.
Modern capitalism kind of started around like the 1700s,
sure.
Right? But you think about the century before that, and the levels of poverty were so immense. Like there was these very distinct like ruling classes. Like it was a small pocket of people who had bread, and everybody else was poor as shit. Like so poor that like life expectancy was like 17 years old.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Your ass gonna die before 20 because you ain't never bathed, and all that disease is just lingering around.
That was some shit you told me that I did not know.
No, I'm dead ass.
The bubonic plague.
No, I'm dead ass. That's serious.
Like was really a
based
result
on
of motherfuckers just not bathing.
No, that's real shit.
Wow.
Like when you hear the Moors talk about we tamed the savage beast, that's what they mean. Like you motherfuckers didn't bathe, bro.
Yeah.
So half the goddamn continent died because y'all didn't know how to wash your ass.
Right.
Right. But that's also a concept this steeped in poverty. You
know
what I mean?
Of course.
So you think about the century before that, before capitalism kind of boomed, right? Modern capitalism, how we think about it, right?
Sure.
The average person only had like 1 or 2 outfits, and when I say outfits, I'm losing that, loosely.
Loosely,
you know what I'm saying? You had a
to cover
sack,
themselves.
Yeah, you had a potato sack and a tie string.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
It's just very interesting to me that getting fresh kind of changed that, and that was that one documentary that said that. But I've also watched this other thing, and this I think is on Netflix. I don't remember where I saw about it. It was a couple of months ago, maybe, about something called fast fashions. So it's a name for it. I don't remember the exact name. Okay. But let's think about somebody comes out on the runway at some kind of gala or some kind of award ceremony, and they're wearing a dress by, some top-end, high-end designer. Right. And what's the name of the little clothing company that Cardi B talks about all the time? Fashion Nova.
Thank you, Esco, coming through.
See, Esco is fully engaged.
Thank you, Esco.
Absolutely knows.
Hey, listen, y'all. We had to have a heart-to-heart with Esco like a week or two ago. Say, Esco, how come you don't never engage with Izwiz? You don't never hop on I Said What I Said. All morning she talking to Mays. All late morning she talking to Don.
Because it's not with Sonia Escobar. It's just you guys. We just need you two. That's all.
It's also because she's deep in thought.
But if you want me to chime in,
deep thoughts. Right. We're deep.
What we're saying is so
you're asking
intellectually stimulating that she can't even
focus in.
Right.
I never thought of it like that.
Good.
You know what I mean?
That's what it is.
I need the time. I need the process.
But we love you, Esco. Hop in whenever you want.
To the point of this Fashion Nova kind of world or this kind of business model, right? It's called fast fashions. And what they do is they'll take something like whoever this high-end designer was, and they'll recreate it at a very cheap price.
Sure.
And they'll be able to sell it, in retail for cheaper prices. So everybody who couldn't necessarily go and buy, let's say, I don't know, Louis Vuitton, I guess that would be a high-end designer. They couldn't go buy the Louis Vuitton dress that so-and-so celebrity had on the other day, but they can go buy this Fashion Nova dress.
Right.
And they were talking about it from the standpoint of how much money is being generated by that industry.
Lots.
And it's money that you couldn't conceive.
Yeah.
But outside of that, they also talk about how much destruction it's doing to the environment because it's cheaply made. It's
they're mass producing bullshit.
The color,
right? You talk about a $5,000
formats and how they're making this
gown.
Yes,
and now y'all selling it for $30 on. You know what I'm saying?
Outrageous. But you just cognitively though, you don't think about fashion having that kind of impact on societies, but it legitimately does.
No, it absolutely does, and especially when you juxtapose that with the fact that there are lots of cultures that don't even wear clothes, don't even deem it necessary, right? So for this country to be able to build an entire industry and do everything it's been able to do based off a concept that other people don't even see it as necessary. Somebody in the comments said something like it's perceived as it's a perceived necessity. It feels like a necessity. I think Demetrius said that, but I'm laughing because Alvin said, "Funky ass aside." Right, like that's what they was dying from. They was dying from funky ass aside. That's hilarious.
It sounds funny, but it's real.
But it's real though, right?
It's real. I had these arguments with my son, man. Like, man, you got to bathe, bro. Brush your teeth, bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is just
boys go through that era.
Nature,
right? That's kind of how you know he hasn't started fucking yet, though.
That's how you know that?
Yeah, well, let me not say that.
I know some nasty dudes that get some action.
No, I was going to say let me not say that too, because yeah, but I'm saying generally speaking, once he starts, being, just in close quarters with the opposite sex, then you kind of want to be you want to smell decent, right? You want the possibility of fellatio to be as high as possible, right? And so you want to keep yourself fresh.
I used to believe that, but I think this new generation, right, and this is not just generated around boys, but there's a level of nasty that just goes with them.
It's different.
They just nasty, G.
I spent half my life in football locker rooms. It's disgusting, right? It's unbelievable the level of disgustery that you will see inside of a football locker room. Like, bro, hey, we just got done sweating, bleeding, rolling the dirt, all that. Y'all don't we got 17 showers in there. Y'all don't want to hit one?
I was gonna say something, but I'm not even gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna fall back.
Okay. All right. Anyway,
but no, for real though, the shorties, like, getting fresh for the shorties is like getting dirty, like it's getting dingy. Like, you're a little younger than me as well though, right? Like, but I remember, ironing my clothes. First of all, that's
different.
I moved through different phases, right? Yeah. So I was born in the era where house was kind of moving out and hip hop was kind of moving in. So house kind of had, rayon shirts and silk pants and shit, whereas hip hop was kind of denim based and what I mean? It was a different kind of feel. You could see dudes in my era walking around with rayon shirts and briefcases. Sure. And they was like in high school.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's real.
So it was a different kind of vibe.
Listen, man, I don't know what it is about the I Said What I Said family, especially the Izwiz OGs. They really love to pick apart the things I say and apply this sweeping logic to it. Tiger says, Herb Howard logic, male virgins don't wash their asses.
Pretty much.
I'm just saying that women are the greatest motivator for male activity. If it weren't for women, I'd argue that there'd be one car, there'd be one outfit, and probably one salary for everything that happens on this earth. Niggas wouldn't give a fuck what kind of car they drove if it had nothing to do with women. Niggas wouldn't care what they put on. They wouldn't even care how much money they had, right? Women motivate dudes to do almost everything we do, including washing your ass. We got to take a break. When we come back, we are expecting to hear from Dave Mays and Bakari Kitwana. We will bring you that conversation on the other side of the break. This is I Said What I Said. Herb Howard and Toussaint Warner here with you. Thank y'all so much for being here with us. We'll be right back.
WIFTBPM.
He is joining Chicago famous because he is born and raised in the city of Chicago. He is famous. He is Chicago famous. Mr. Rick Party. Welcome to the show,
what's
sir.
What's happening for the show, star?
Ricky!
So I had to figure out at that point, what am I going to do with my life? I would listen to the radio. Earl Boston was a radio personality, and I would call in all the time and ask him, hey, can you make a dedication to my girlfriend? Every day I would call him. He said, well, why are you calling me every day at 10 o'clock? You're supposed to be in school. I said, I'm sick, man. He said, to be honest, tell you the truth. But this man taking the time to talk to me on the other end of the phone every day, making dedications to my girlfriend who's in school while I'm out, that just inspired me just as a street kid, living, from Inglewood, Inglewood and Cabrini Green,
Right.
Back and forth.
Chicago famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for the state of Illinois. I will never give up on inclusion and equality, prison reform, reduce property taxes, and economic opportunity for all. I want to get to know your neighborhood and the problem that you face every day. And I want to serve every man, woman, and child in the state of Illinois. A vote for me is a vote for you.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
When you need vibrant, colorful gear that offers high-performance material that keeps you cool, call Agent Huff Custom Gear. Let us take your expressions and create something new for your everyday wear, your bedroom or bath. For all your needs, we offer custom sublimation, silkscreen, vinyl, and embroidery. You can reach us on all things social at Superhero Huff. www.superherohuff.com or 630-476-9191.
WIFTBPN.
You know what?
We are back live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios. This is I Said What I Said, Herb and 2 here with you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of the conversation. It is, we can't tell you how much we appreciate y'all being here. It really, really, really means a lot to us. This thing started from just me and 2 just having general conversation that we have all the time. And we took it on the air at terrestrial radio and like, well, maybe we should just make it an independent podcast thing. And we took it like that. And you guys have been rocking with it ever since. And it just continues to grow and expand. And now we are here over at What's in It for the Black People Media. Shout out to Mays Jackson for tapping I Said What I Said to be a part of the 12 hours.
For recognizing greatness.
For recognizing greatness, right?
Let's just recognize greatness.
You know what I'm saying? Just for having common sense.
Just for being able to see.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. But we truly, truly appreciate you all. Thank you so much. If you have not already had the chance to do so, please take a quick moment to share the conversation on your own personal page or share it within your network. When I tell you that it means a lot to us, it truly, truly does. If you want to contribute to the show, you can also do so by clicking on the little gold stars in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Every single one of those makes us extremely happy. So if you feel so inclined to do so, please feel free to click the little gold star in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Y'all, as usual, are already on fire in the comments. Komet Pryor says, whatever word I made up, what was the word I made? Disgustery. Komet Pryor said, disgustery is not Salim approved. You are absolutely right. I don't think Salim would approve of such a word as disgustery. And he certainly would not be described that way because Salim is smooth as hell.
Thinking about disgustery, right? Off air, we was kind of having a conversation about
you and Salim was. I don't know if y'all was watching. Oh, my bad. I don't know if y'all. How many of you all were tuned in to Muwakil's World? If you weren't, you need to be tuned in. That's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Salim had on his blue flannel, and now you see Tucson got on his. They was in here looking like straight Crips and Bloods.
Well,
right
folks
before the show.
It's Chicago.
Yeah, but
Chicago.
Yeah,
man.
but the plaid joint is really the L.A. gangster look. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it is what it is. We
It is
both
what
got
it
the
is.
same deal of Target.
But I digress.
But no, to the discussory conversation, right? And because we're having a conversation with Dave Mays today, and just because I've been tuned in to media a lot this week, there's a conversation that's kind of happening around Vlad TV. You hip to Vlad TV?
I am.
So for those of you who in our audience who not hip to Vlad TV, Vlad is kind of like this kind of. He does like this digital interviewing thing with most of the hip hop genre, right? Most of the hip hop generation,
right?
And recently he had some disparaging remarks to say about the Minister Farrakhan, and Royce the 5'9" jumped out and said, "You know, we're not going to accept that from you.
Hell no.
You got to apologize." And then there's been several black rappers that kind of came to his aid. Right.
To defend Vlad or Royce the 5'9"?
To defend Vlad's right to kind of say what he said. Right. Now, be clear about who Vlad is. Vlad is also a Jewish cat, right? And you know, and the only reason I even bring this up because what was it, a month ago, a couple weeks ago or something? There was a Nick Cannon had something
Nick
to
Cannon
say about the Jewish community.
Right. Nick Cannon gave an honest assessment.
And they made him come out and apologize. Yeah. Right, and not only did he come out and apologize, then he had to kind of do this world tour of why I love Jewish people.
Right,
you know what I mean.
Right.
So it's just interesting to see how that capitulation that we always talk about just shows up visibly for us to see.
Yeah.
But what happened was there's the comedian Godfrey, who's a Chicago cat.
Yeah.
The other brother, Lord Jamar, both of those had a discussion about why Vlad was wrong. but it was not a necessity that he apologize. They thought he should, but not a necessity. Now wait, let me just break this down to you.
Sure.
What Vlad did was he took the post down and he said if he was going to apologize, he said he would hope that somebody could connect him to the minister and he do have a conversation with the minister directly and apologize to the minister directly. Now Royce the 5'9" came out essentially saying, man, fuck dude, fuck what he talking about, fuck him ever assuming he can get an interview with the minister.
Right.
Now this is the juxtaposition that I think is interesting.
I bet you he does.
This is the interesting perspective that I think happens here, though. There's also a conversation with the other brother, my son, who also was kind of bought into the drug, into the deal. And Royce is saying the hell would do forever, right? And the hell would do forever because Royce wants to kind of yield or wield black power and say, man, we made you, we could take this away from you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the other three brothers are kind of leveraging his value asset to the community, or what they deem as a value asset to the community. Right. And I think that's a conversation that kind of happens in our community all the time, like this different understanding of power. Right. So if the Jewish, even in the context of the conversation we're going to have today. Right. So even in the context of, like, there's this new narrative that hip hop is a culture. And I'm arguing behind closed doors that I don't believe that hip hop is a culture.
Okay.
You know what I mean? At best, it might be a subculture.
Sure.
But a subculture to varying degrees of umbrella cultures that really dictate and manipulate thought, beliefs, and ideologies. Right? So what that means is, yeah, you might go in and listen to hip hop during the off hours, but at the family dinner, you kind of subject yourself to what the family thinks. You know what I mean? So, okay, yeah, I definitely will. So we get messages from outside the line too. But which one is the more prevailing culture, right? The one that you eating family dinner with, or the one you sneaking and listening to?
Sure.
And which ones do you align yourselves with, right?
Sure.
And if that alignment is different, does that make you a culture vulture, or is hip hop falsely being narrated as a culture?
Yeah, I think that, there are people who, would have, I don't know, they would use hip hop, culture or not, they would use it for their own benefit, right? And because of the conversation that we were having earlier about us not, we'll sell ourselves for the low, right? Whether it's the saxophone, the hot sauce, the Timbs, whatever it is, we'll sell ourselves for the low. Now, Vlad is somebody who most people couldn't even pick out of a lineup, right? Because his show format is very, very simple. He sits a black artist in front of his camera and he asks them questions, right? And that's it. You don't even see him, right? You can hear his voice, right? Most people can probably identify his voice, but what he looks like, many people who've watched Vlad TV don't even fucking know what he looks like. But even with that being the case, he thinks that he's so important to where he can come and denigrate our strongest leader, right? And no the fuck you can't, dude. Like no you can't, right? And I understand there's an argument in America, right? Americans try to talk about, this, I may disagree with what you said, but I'll defend your right to say it to the death, right? And it's like, nah, like I won't, right? You can say that, and I can beat your ass too. You know what I'm saying? That's both of those things are true. And I think that in this case, Vlad either needs to walk down his comments, or he needs to get his ass beat. Not in the form of physically beating his ass, but in the form of saying, okay, you don't have access into our culture no more. Nobody of note is going to come sit down and have these interviews with you. Now, I know for a lot of aspiring artists, that's kind of always been this big thing to I'm going to get me a Vlad interview. Well, fuck Vlad, right? You can get an interview wherever you want, right? This is 2020. This is the day where you can go direct to consumer in a way that you've never been able to do before. You can have your own fucking interview, right? And it's like you don't really have to use him. You don't really need him in that way. And so I think that I'm with Royce the 5'9" and say, listen, man, either you apologize or we not rocking with you. And for anybody to come out and say, well, no, I don't really agree with him, but he got the right to say it. No, the fuck he don't. Watch your mouth, right? Because everybody else, like, when you speak bad about other cultures, there's a price to be paid. You just referenced Nick Cannon speaking about the Jewish community. There's a price to be paid. Countless instances over the past 10 years or say, let's just say past 10 years, people speak out of turn about the LGBTQ community. There's a price to be paid. And unfortunately, you say whatever the fuck you want to say about black people, and there's no threat of any consequence, right? You do it with impunity. And I think that that's going to continue unless we're like, nah, we draw the line.
What could be our or else?
in this particular instance, nobody's gonna come do your show. That's what you do, right? That's how you built your platform. Okay, now nobody's coming.
So I asked that question on purpose.
Sure.
Right? Because I think the or else has to be attached to identity.
It must.
Right? And I think that the reason or else doesn't really exist
because we don't have
in our culture is because we don't have the identity, right? Our value set and our value assets are solely attached to capital.
Yeah.
So if Vlad looks like access to me reaching the bag, I ain't rocking with what you're saying. I watched Gilly from Philly and Wallow on the Drink Champs not too long ago too.
Yeah.
And there was an argument that took place about white people using the word nigga in context to listening to hip hop.
Right.
And Wallow was like, I'm not for it. And Gilly was like, I don't care. Right. And I hate this conversation because it's so stupid to me, right? But there is a legitimate conversation around the hard ER versus the A at the back of nigga. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that really irritates the shit out of me. But Gilly's logic was that, these are consumers of my music and I'm writing this music for them to consume, right? So if I'm writing this music for them to consume, then why should I be mad at once they consume it?
Yeah.
Right? So
you go to a concert, it's 75% white folks. Right? You go to a concert, it's 75% like white people, right? And so while they're rapping all these lyrics, then you're hearing them rap along with the songs, you're hearing them say nigga, and it's like if you want to address it, you got to address it with 20,000 motherfuckers at a concert, right? That's just not a real thing, right? And so I think that but to other points, I think that listen, you're making this music to tell your story, right? You're making this music to tell your story, and Gilly's story about being from the hood in Philly is one story. That don't make it necessary or acceptable for people not black to come and say like nigga. Yeah, and so I just I understand some nuance, right? It's one thing we had a concert. I'm not really gonna wild out about that shit, but then what happens is it turns into other things, right? And then you get people like Vlad, like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can say whatever I want about Mr. Farrakhan, and I don't have to take the shit back. It's like, okay, that's cool. You don't, right? But we don't have to come fucking do your show. And I think that we have to be. It's that identity piece. Listen, told you guys that we would be joined on the line by Bakari Kitwana and Dave Mays, and they are here. We had a little bit of some issues trying to get them checked in, but I see them in right now. So let me go ahead and pull them up on the screen so we can welcome these two brothers whose contribution to hip hop culture has been, or subculture as you would say too, have been immense. And we are looking forward to having this conversation with them. So let me flip these cameras around so we can chop it up with these brothers real quick. There we go. Bakari, Dave, what's happening? How y'all feeling?
All right, how you doing?
Oh, we doing real good.
What's going
man.
on? I didn't know what you're going on video, so I wasn't fully camera ready, but I'm gonna try to make it work.
It's okay. Don't nobody really be dressed but Tucson. He get his braids and his little baby hair hanging out. Don't worry about it.
Here you go. Starting early.
It's all good, fellas.
How y'all brothers doing?
We appreciate y'all taking the time, man, to join us on I Said What I Said. We truly appreciate you all taking the time out your schedule. How y'all feeling?
Good.
Good.
Feeling
So
great, man. Excited about tomorrow. Looks like it's going to be a really great event. So really excited about it.
Yeah, the Hip Hop Political Summit. Let us know about that.
Sure. Well, I did this thing about a year ago with the city of Milwaukee. The city of Milwaukee is the first city in America that's ever created an official hip hop week backed by the city. And they asked me to get involved last year, Councilman Rainey out there, and I worked with them on putting a whole program of activities together. And part of, the goal of the Hip Hop Week was to, show that hip hop not only is, fun and entertaining and all that sort of stuff, but that it can, be a very effective force in kind of mobilizing the community on issues of importance that they may not otherwise engage with.
Right.
So going into this year, we had sort of called it off because of COVID and everything. Sure. And I kind of woke up in July and I'm looking at what's going on out here, in the world with all the protests and the unrest and everything going on. And I just felt like hip hop doesn't have a voice. And it was kind of bothering me because, as I'm sure you all know, I mean, you can say that before there was Black Lives Matter, there was hip hop. Hip hop was Black Lives Matter in the late 80s and throughout the 90s in terms of being, the voice for all of these type of exact same issues that are finally making it into the mainstream just these past few months. And while hip hop has, obviously evolved and changed a lot over the years, it just felt to me like this is too important of a time for all of us in the hip hop community not to kind of organize and get involved and try to see if we can help make a change. So I thought about doing a summit like this and getting some of the leadership involved. And first person I called was Bakari. I thought he would be the ideal person to work with me on it. He and I, go back 20, 25 years to the Source magazine. And of course, you guys are familiar with all of his accomplishments over the years. And he loved the idea, he could tell you, and we just put it together, man. And it's coming out great. And that's where it came from.
I'm glad you mentioned the evolution of hip hop, right? I think that it started out in a way where there was always this kind of like political voice and this call to justice and social issues, and then I feel like at some point it kind of turned into something else where that wasn't really at the forefront, and I see it kind of now starting to come back. How do y'all view it as important to kind of use hip hop as a way to activate a sometimes dormant demographic in terms of social political issues?
I mean, I want to kind of just jump into that narrative you just laid out. I mean,
sure.
I don't know if hip hop ever really fell back. I think that even as it has fallen back, I think that there's been different forces, often within the music industry, that's kind of made it be more dormant in some ways.
Right.
So I think that most certainly during the 80s. The music industry was emerging. You had a lot of independent labels that was publishing music, so you had a different range of commentary because it wasn't as regulated. Then you come into the 90s, you get a little bit more regulation with these corporate labels kind of trying to shape what it looks like, and most certainly further into the 2000s. And so I think you start to get to a point where political MCs are pretty much pushed out of the industry. To the point where you have artists that are making some political commentary, but there aren't artists who deem themselves political artists at you reach a certain point at all within mainstream published music industry. So I think some of that stuff has affected the evolution. I think also at the same time you start to get more of the activists stepping up more, who mobilize and use hip hop as a political force as they're organizing people. I feel like some of that stuff started to play a bigger role by the early to mid 2000s.
Sure.
And so I think that it's been that kind of evolution. But also, I think you got a different generation of young people growing up in a different time, reacting to and responding to what's happening in the country. And to be honest, embracing a different level of Americanism, I think.
Yep.
And I think all of that plays a role in what we're seeing. But then, of course, you still got, aberrations like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. Those folks are still doing their thing. But then also you got other artists who are activists and artists and independent, still making great music and in the tradition of Public Enemy, KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, and others. So I think it's a mixed bag.
How do we create that balance, though, of consciousness and capitalism, right? Because it might be a mixed bag, but when we start thinking about terrestrial radio, or when we start thinking about mass production or mass consumption of music, that it's not necessarily a mixed bag, right? It's really just kind of one bag. It's kind of like this overcompensation of this kind of gluttonous kind of community. So is it really a mixed bag, or how do we find that balance?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a mixed bag from the standpoint of there are artists making political music. Now, whether those artists are in the mainstream, I mean, you do have some in the mainstream. So I do think it's a mixed bag. And I think it's a mixed bag because I think that to be black in America and endure capitalism and white supremacy means you in a mixed bag.
Now we talking my language.
you in a mixed bag. And the question becomes, what kind of compromises are you going to make, and what kind of compromises are you willing to make? I think that's where it starts to get murky.
I think another part of the answer is, you know, the media and having our own, you know, powerful media voice or voices. And, you know, I speak to that. It's very personal to me because to me, you know, I left the Source in 2005, 15 years ago. And it feels to me like, you know, there's been a lack of kind of authority and authenticity in terms of media platforms when it comes to hip hop these past 15 years. There's a lot of different platforms that cover it or incorporate it, et cetera. But I don't see anyone that's speaking to it with the kind of authority and authenticity that the Source once held for many years, which is one of the reasons why, you know, I took some time off a few years ago to kind of regroup and make plans for the Dave Mays Media. So I'm, you know, going to be launching a new media platform and brand in the next few months. It'll be announced and getting started. And I think the opportunity is there for us to create, you know, a much more, you know, influential platform that can help create that balance that you were talking about, because that's what the Source did. I mean, the Source really stood for that balance between, you know, the streets and the corporate suites. Yeah. That was a line that I personally, you know, was committed to towing and walk that thin line for many, many years. You know, not too many other people were willing to do that. So
I don't think there's a lot of people that are willing to do it or capable
of bringing somebody back.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you're saying about the, you know, not a really solidified place and way in which, you know, the messaging and the politics is kind of being shaped within hip hop. I think that's interesting. I mean, I think that's definitely true. You know, that moment was a moment in which journalists in hip hop were kind of defining and shaping what hip hop was on some level.
Yeah.
And I feel like now you got a lot of different people calling themselves hip hop journalists. They writing. Many of them have no real connection to black people or black culture.
Right.
And so, you know, and it's a lot of different outlets, whether it's people podcasting or whatever. And yeah, so I do think it is a lot of shaping and pulling and tugging and people claiming ownership in it that does make it more of a mixed bag.
Is that no real relationship to black culture? Or is it a reshaping of the narrative of the culture of hip hop? Like, this is a conversation we was kind of having off air, right? There's this new kind of narrative of hip hop as the culture. And when it becomes the culture, it kind of loses its kind of historical anchoring in black culture.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I do hear people using the terminology of the culture. I think, yeah, I mean, we never backed away from hip hop as a black cultural form. I do think that there has been a lot of watering down of what is blackness and what is black politics and who decides and speaks on what it is and what's shaping it. I mean, I think that there was a time in the 80s and the 90s, you had a real strong Afrocentric movement and African-centered movement within the academy. You had strong voices like John Henry Clark and Maulana Karenga and Naeem Akbar and Francis Cress Welsing, and those folks were really kind of shaping a certain idea around what is blackness. I feel like now you got more people kind of pushing back. People use terminology like Hotep to kind of dismiss that. And those folks were really coming out of the 60s activism and into the the emergence of black studies. They were trying to shape a certain core group of texts that people were familiar with and reading and studying that was defining what it meant to be black. And we have absolutely shifted away from that.
Yeah, I agree. I think related to that is something, you know, Bakari, he and I were talking about the other day. You know, to me, hip hop in its authentic form from the 80s and throughout the 90s was a culture that, you know, was accessible and open to people of all races, ethnicities, and people from all races and ethnicities have most certainly made contributions to the culture over the years. But at the same time, it's always been a culture that was pro-Black. And that was kind of the grounding of the culture, was a pro-Black perspective and an understanding, a core understanding of systemic racism and all that that means and comes with it. And what's happened, in my opinion, in the past 15, 20 years in terms of hip hop is the way it's evolved due to, the influence of, like I say, media or lack of media, due to some of the corporate influences, et cetera. It's kind of become a safe space in hip hop for white folks to be able to be, a part of quote unquote hip hop and the culture, but not necessarily be committed to those same, pro-Black perspectives and understandings. And that's the disconnect that's gone on that I think has kind of screwed things up, and we need to bring that back.
Yeah, I think there was an authenticity that was necessary, coming through the 80s and into the 90s, where you could be a part of the culture, but you had to be authentic with it. And now, like, you don't really have to have that level of authenticity. You can kind of just dip your toe in the water today and hop out of it tomorrow, or say some stupid shit here and change some other shit there. Like
it's become exploitive.
Yeah, it's very, very much so. Listen, fellas, we got to take a break. Can y'all hang on for a second, because I want to get into some of the specifics about the summit coming up in terms of how we're going to activate this demographic and exactly what we're trying to get out of it. So if we take a quick break, if you are just tuning in, this is I Said What I Said, Herb Howard, Toussaint Warner. Absolutely thrilled to be joined live on the video screen by founder of the Source magazine, Dave Mays, and former editor-in-chief and founder of Rap Sessions, Bakari Kitwana. We'll be right back after this.
WIFTBPM.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for the state of Illinois. I will never give up on inclusion and equality, prison reform, reduced property taxes, and economic opportunity for all. I want to get to know your neighborhood and the problem that you face every day. And I want to serve every man, woman, and child in the state of Illinois. A vote for me is a vote for you.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your Black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
WIFTBPM.
Live from What's in It for the Black Media Studio. You're listening to I Said What I Said.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you're listening to I Said What I Said.
I just said that.
I know you just said that.
That's what I just said.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Exactly what he just said.
With Herb Howard and Toussaint Warner.
That's about one of the nicest things you ever said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
And we are back. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios. I Said What I Said, Herb Howard, Toussaint Warner here with you up until 3 o'clock, having a conversation with Dave Mays and Bakari Kitwana right now. Let me pull those brothers back in on the screen. Boom, boom. Let me get Mike Love and Diz out. Shout out to Mike Love and Diz. They'll be coming up next every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. They'll be here shortly, but let me pull the brothers back in. My bad. There we go. Boom. Wanted to make sure I had y'all off the screen so y'all could do whatever y'all need to do during the commercial break or whatever, and not have y'all sitting up on the screen. So I wanted to pop y'all back in. Appreciate y'all for sticking with us through the break. Dave, before we was going to the break, you were making some comments about the culture, and while it's open to everybody, right, there had to be this ability to kind of like navigate those spaces. And you mentioned, you referenced yourself specifically in being able to navigate that space between, the streets and then the corporate offices and execs, and trying to walk that fine line, which can be very, very difficult. I don't think many people are one, willing to do it, and two, I don't think many people are capable of doing it. And so for the way that the Source was able to do that in such, again, that were authentic way, was huge. And very few platforms were able to put on for the culture like the Source magazine was. You were your contribution to hip hop is undeniable, right? How do you reconcile that, right? Knowing what your contribution has been, knowing what you've been able to do, to now you get times today where you have people having conversations about like, oh, it's culture vultures, and how can somebody who's not black be at the top of these iconic things? Like, well, the proof is there, right? The work is there. How do you kind of reconcile that when you hear those types of conversations?
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly what I was just talking about this safe space for white folks. I mean, that they're really they're just in it for the wrong reasons or without the correct understanding. And I think that conversation is accurate in many cases. With some of the people out here that are subject to that characterization. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't mean that there can't be folks like myself who are white who can operate in the space in a way that is authentic and respected. And I've never been called a culture vulture. And to me, at least to my face or publicly, to me, that comes from, again, my approach, my way of operating, my willingness, to approach it in the way that I was describing and what you talked about, to walk that fine line. I mean, most people running big companies and running other magazines and stuff back, when the Source was coming up, I mean, they wanted no parts of the street, wanted nobody, they want to get as far away from the street or anybody that they felt represented the street and was threatening to them in any way, as far as possible. And I was the opposite. Like, I welcomed the streets into the office. I would be out in the community, and it was a marriage of things. And I understood that comes with the territory. If you want to be in hip hop, you have to take the so-called the good with the bad, and you got to deal with the realities of what these conditions are like out here. I mean, people are dying. People, the families are being destroyed. I mean, all the myriad of problems that we're familiar with in our inner city communities that have persisted for so many years. And you can't just act like you don't care, or those things aren't happening, and it doesn't matter.
Bakari, in regards to the actual summit, one of the issues you all are talking about is tackling voter suppression. That's kind of a pre-election kind of goal. But on the website, it talks about leveraging influence to dictate policy. What would be like some policy, like post-election goals for disenfranchised people that you all think could come out of this summit?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like with the website, we're really projecting down the road. I feel like we have been on a mission. Those of us who work at the intersection of hip hop and politics for decades to translate hip hop's cultural influence into political power. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not an easy thing. And I think it takes time to really build political power. But I think that hip hop is in a unique space culturally and wields a great deal of cultural influence over this society. And I think as we begin to talk about this shift in this kind of racial reckoning, one of the things that people are realizing is that who didn't know before, or who pretended not to know, is that there is a great scramble for resources in this country. And so you start to pull the covers off of some of these industries, not just the entertainment industry, but or say the sports industry, the basketball, football, etc. Sure. You start to look inside the music industry. You start to look inside Wall Street. You start to look inside all of these news media, and we're not represented proportionate to our representation in the population.
Right.
And so I think that the challenge of moving towards a level of political power, a great deal of it is resources. I think that, when you start to talk about how electoral politics work, one of the ways it works is money is in politics, and money and lobby groups are in Washington pushing and fighting for their issues. And I feel like as we in hip hop begin to really look at, as we always have, really, it's nothing new, the issues that are affecting our community, political power and electoral politics has to be an arena that we're in, and we have to be leveraging our power to start to see the type of changes we want to see on the ground. Because I know a lot of people believe that the protests are enough, but my political education doesn't tell me that. Mm-hmm. My political education tells me that white supremacy morphs, it adapts.
Yep.
it moves, it shapes,
Yep.
it changes what it's saying.
It's two teams in the game.
To get you to a certain place.
Yeah.
And once you at that place, then it's off to the races again.
Sure.
And so I think people who think that the protests in and of themselves are going to change this country, I think they're in for a rude awakening. This white supremacy is deeply entrenched in the institutions of this country.
Absolutely.
And it's going to take a fight to change that. And so what I hope we want to see after this summit is more people stepping up. We may need to build a hip hop political party, but we certainly need to build a hip hop force.
That'll scare the fuck out of America.
We need to build a hip hop force that can really go head to head on our issues in the same way the NRA, Planned Parenthood, and other entities are fighting for their constituency. And we know what the issues are. I mean, we had the National Hip Hop Political Convention in 2004. Black folks have been talking about what the issues are forever. We know the prison industrial complex is a problem. We know education is a problem. We know housing discrimination. We know the inability of people to have decent housing and education. We know these issues.
Right.
But who is fighting for us every day? Certainly we have the older generation has been out there, organizations like the NAACP and others. We don't discredit their work. But we need more. And we need these athletes, celebrities, and entertainers, as they have been starting to step up more, to realize that we got to also step up in terms of this electoral politics arena, because it's a serious money game, and we're getting clobbered.
So, in layman's terms, would that policy be reparations?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Reparations is always on the table.
Okay, I just want to cut through the noise. Let's just say it out loud. Run that check, homie.
Well, I mean, I think that a lot. I mean, we talk about reparations. We have to understand what a reparations battle, where it is, and where it's come from.
Sure.
So we go back to Amario Badeli and the Free the Land movement. People like Chokwe Lumumba, they've been fighting the Malcolm X grassroots movement, fighting for reparations for many, many years. I think we also have had people in more recent years, a sister named Deidre Farmer-Paulman, who began to use the law to identify corporations that were benefiting in previous iterations from slavery and continue to benefit today, whether you're talking about banks or whether you're talking about insurance companies that were insuring slave vessels and things of that nature. And so this sister was able to, and along with some other attorneys, to bring these cases to court and to win. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. To me, that's where the battle has left off. They even went as far as using DNA, because one of the things that the court said was, well, you're talking about reparations for specific people, but how do you know these people were the ones that were on these particular plantations or on these particular, well, they used DNA evidence to trace that and to prove that we're talking about actual descendants, and they won these cases. So I feel like, to me, that's where the battle of reparations left off. A lot of people started talking about reparations in the last 5, 7, 10 years. They act like that didn't happen.
I know one thing for sure is that this year, right, in 2020, with the racial climate being what it is in the country right now, we saw actual reparations being on the agenda at the Democratic, primary debates, right? That's something that's never ever happened before, right? And so I think you're starting to see some momentum being built in that way. I think we're probably still a long way off. I don't think that one day the powers that be in America are going to wake up and say, you know what, we've been doing y'all wrong for 400 plus years. We're real sorry about that. Let us make this thing right? And I think that there's some things that have to go into it and what that actually looks like. But you mentioned something a little bit a while ago that I wanted to touch on before we get out of here. Talking about these athletes and these entertainers starting to use their platforms to impact social justice, right? Do you think that, one, that they should be in those spaces, right? Just because of, I'm good at basketball, or I can rap, or I can sing, and so therefore I should be at the forefront of this political or social justice conversation. Now, I personally think that, I think it's good for them to use their platform, and if they're going to educate themselves and they want to put themselves in this space, and if they want to leverage their platforms to bring awareness to these things, fine. But I think a lot of times they aren't really all that qualified to be speaking on some of the stuff that they're talking about.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there definitely has to be, to me, you need activists to lead political movements. You don't need athletes. But if an athlete is an activist, that's a different matter.
Sure,
so, I
that's
mean,
different, right.
But, I think that absolutely you're 100% correct. We need people to support these movements, but we also need people to get their weight up. So if they're going to be out here speaking out on issues. But I think that we've seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of, people like Tamika Mallory, in conversations with artists, and then artists join the movement. So I think that we've done a lot of that over the years. P. Diddy with Citizen Change, he had activists down with him, from Sister Soldier to others. So I mean, I think that we've seen it, and we do need to make sure that is a part of the question always.
I think when we think about the corporate impact and the corporate relationship between some of those athletes, high-end athletes, and some of those high-end artists, I'd go back to the statement that Dave made. Is like, how do we define the authenticity, though? Mm-hmm. That's where I find fear. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I struggle with that part of the conversation.
That's a real thing, trying to find that balance. Like, okay, I'm glad that T.I.'s he wants to be, these issues are important to him. He wants to, but like, T.I., are you really like?
But
engaged
you
in
said
like,
T.I., we could talk about Hov, right?
Yeah,
Who's at the pinnacle of hip hop.
Sure, Hov, Puff, whoever you want, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what's your personal agenda here?
And I think that a part of the dilemma that we have to deal with amongst ourselves is how much credence are we giving to these people? Just because you have money doesn't make you an authority.
The decadent veil of celebrity. I agree.
What our people need and what's the pressing issues. And I think that we got to check ourselves a lot of times, because I think that there is this fascination with celebrity. It's part of our culture in some way, but I think we got to learn how to keep that impetus in check to rah the celebrity, because I think that you are creating some monsters out here.
So the Hip Hop Political Summit, if people want to get involved, they want to make sure they tune in. Where do they go? How do they stay in tune?
If they're watching now or anytime before tomorrow, at 12 noon, you can register at hiphoppoliticaledcom. That's the website. It's best to register so that you'll be able to participate and interact with the live panel discussions. I mean, we have 7 hours of speakers and panels and performances, amazing lineup of people. I don't think we mentioned everybody, but from Cornel West to Bun B to Chuck D to Big Daddy Kane to Damon Dash, Michael Eric Dyson, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, Mayor Ras Baraka, Rhapsody, Soledad O'Brien,
Congressman Andre Parson, Jessica Caremore,
phenomenal.
Rod Stars of Rebel Diaz, Jasiri X, Tiffany Lofton of the NAACP National Youth, head of the National Youth and College of NAACP. Who else are we leaving out?
There's no cost to it. It's free, and you'll be able to watch it. It'll be streaming on the Revolt TV YouTube channel and also on the Revolt TV Facebook page. And if you mess with Twitch, it's going to be on Twitch Behind the Rhyme as well. Streaming live all day tomorrow. So please join us and join in on the discussion if you register.
You said it's hiphoppoliticaledcom.
Yes.
hiphoppoliticaledcom.
Fellas, that is absolutely phenomenal work. It sounds like a full, comprehensive discussion. All the people that you guys have on there. Listen, next year when Outside's back open next year, we want to be a part of the summit. We want to come out and chop it up with y'all and be on the panel and be a part of these discussions.
Sounds amazing. Let's do it.
Cool. One more thing, Dave, before you get out of here, man. That you about to launch Dave Mays Media, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Basically, I've been, just talking about like what I said before, that to me there's a void in the market for a platform and a brand that speaks authentically to the culture and that can, really help connect the dots even between the generations. That's another thing I've noticed out here. It feels like kind of, forces have been at work to kind of divide us in terms of pitting the young versus the old. And the reality is hip hop now spans across 3 generations, from, Generation X, millennials down to the Zs.
Yep.
And while we might, have some different types of music that we favor over others, we might have a different style of dress from each other. There's an underlying kind of sensibility and perspective that I believe all of us who have been exposed to hip hop culture throughout our lives share. And it's a certain way of looking at the world that's unique to those of us that love hip hop and have been exposed to it. And I think that, we can unify a large audience of people across generations to engage with a media platform that provides, news, provides entertainment, provides a variety of different, types of content in different subject areas, whether it's business and entrepreneurialism, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's, social justice, politics. All of that is going to come under the umbrella of the new platform that I'm creating right now. And it's going to launch at the top of the year. I can say that it's going to involve a podcasting network at its inception. The rest will be announced in the coming weeks, more of the details about it. But I'm definitely very excited about that.
Sounds super, super dope, man. Looking forward to it. Please come back and chop it up with us when you launch that thing. Let us know what's going on. I'm checking out that piece over your shoulder, man. That's as authentic as it gets, right? I said hip hop, hip. It's like the whole joint is right there on the wall. It don't get no more authentic than that. That's super, super dope.
Yeah, thank you. Got a few nice pieces up here on the wall. The first issue of the Source, a little 1-sheet yellow newsletter back here, and one of my favorite covers.
That's fire, man. Listen, Dave Mays, Bakari Kitwana, thank y'all, brothers, so much for taking the time. We truly, truly appreciate it. Look forward to talking to y'all again soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thanks for having us.
It was our pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Listen, we got to take a break. When we come back, going to unpack some of the things we had in discussion and also tell you guys exactly where you need to go if you want to take part in the hip hop political summit. It'll be happening tomorrow. Hip hop, what is it? Hip hop political ed.com.
HipHopPoliticalEd.com.
Right.
It's a virtual event, and it's taking place tomorrow from 12 noon to 7 p.m.
Got us talking into a black screen. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into that and more. This is I Said What I Said. Herb Howard and Tucson Warner here with you to 3 o'clock. We'll be right back.
WIIFTPM.
You're listening to I Said What I Said with Tucson Warner and Herb Howard.
Well, what was the power of the Bible? Most motherfuckers couldn't read. So the Bible legitimately changed the world because motherfuckers began to learn to read. And once I can learn to read, wait a minute, I can question some of this bullshit you talking
What school
about.
you go to, though?
It don't matter.
A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Well, no,
I went to Dunbar.
Yes!
That's how Dunbar. Oh, it's good. People disrespect the city schools. This Chicago. And I'm a motherfucking genius.
And it's on period.
Shout out to the mighty man. Nah, I'm just playing. But seriously though, think about it though, right? The Bible legitimately changed the world, right?
What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Tucson Warner and Herb Howard live on What's In It For The Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Are back. We are live from the What's In It For The Black People Media Studios. This is I Said What I Said. My name is Herb Howard. That brother's name is Toussaint Warner. Thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to tune in and be a part of the conversation. Hope you guys had an opportunity to tune into the interview. Just got done talking to Dave Mays, who is the founder of The Source magazine. He's about to launch a new media platform called Dave Mays Media. We were also joined by former Source editor-in-chief and current and founder of Rap Sessions, Bakari Kitwana. They have the Hip Hop Political Summit coming up tomorrow. If you want to follow it, you can watch it live. It'll be streaming on Revolt TV. You can go to the website as well, hiphoppoliticaled.com, hiphoppoliticaled.com. If you want to do that, you can register. That way you can interact with the different speakers and people who will be presenting during the thing. It is completely free. There's no charge to you. So absolutely, if you want to check that out, show up tomorrow and see, how they're trying to leverage hip hop and the culture to impact not only social justice but politics and policy. And I think that's something that has rarely been seen in hip hop. I know we've done it in terms of some songs and things like that, but in terms of putting together comprehensive summits and things like that and having it air out over Revolt TV, that's kind of a different thing. I think it could be a big deal. And you don't.
So again, I asked one question that I think kind of was very important. Right? I said, when you start talking about voter suppression, that's kind of a pre-election conversation.
Sure.
When you start talking policy, that's a post-election conversation. Right. Now, what you got to understand about the political cycle of just America in general, there's funds that come down pre-election all the time to kind of spark or motivate institutions, whether it be the church, whether it be the black church, whether it be the whatever cultural institutions there are that can move people. Money starts to fall into their hands. So you start to see these pop-ups around churches registering people to vote. You start to see these pop-ups around, XYZ sports team registering people to vote. You start seeing these pop-ups around even hip-hop registering people to vote. But none of that affects policy. It affects voter turnout. One of the conversations that I've had with you and I've had for a long time is about politics is bigger than going into a voting booth for 10 minutes and marking your name and marking the name of the candidate you choose. Politics in a lot of ways is a way of life. Right. Hence why I go back to the initial conversation that I've had about why we should probably stand down in this election. And when I say stand down, I don't mean
not go.
I mean we should go in and we should vote down ballot. Part of that conversation is about we have not figured out how to effectively navigate or force the hands of the political class to reinvest in us after the voting process. Right. And the reason we've not done that is because traditionally we are not independent voters. We are not independent thinkers. We go in and we vote one, popularity. Right, or relatability, i.e., he played the saxophone, i.e., he had the tan
first black
suit
president,
on,
fuck out of it.
i.e., we had on kente cloth suits. Right. So we go in off name recognition, and we go in off, like I said, relatability, and we go in consistently, like we're focused, we're dedicated. You know what I mean? And we give them our vote for essentially, the outfit that they had on. So we got to start affecting policy. Right, we can affect the vote. They know that.
Yeah, but the front end, that's for them. Right. That's us doing something for them, right? To affect voter turnout and get people to come out and show up. Okay, that's for you. What's coming back for me on the back end, right? Because that's what's supposed to be for us. And that is where I think they constantly fall short, right? We show up and we give them our vote. We support them, whatever. We use our resources, our time, our energy, whatever, to support them. But then on the back end, we don't get anything from it. And I say all the time, politics is really the only arena of our society where we allow that to take place. In no other aspect of our society would you allow for you to give your resources for a certain thing and then get something other than that in return and accept it. Right, you wouldn't do that at a restaurant. You wouldn't go to a restaurant and be like, "Hey, I want the number 5. So here's my $20. You give me a number 4." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm getting number 4."
I'm saying it's directly true in reference to even the conversation we were just having. We get right. So think about this, right? There's a comment. Gene, shout out to Sonya, because they're having a whole conversation in a thread.
Okay.
And the conversation that they're having is about a blog that was very popular here called Fake Sure Drive.
Yeah.
Right. So Fake Sure Drive was a cat named Andrew Barber. Is a cat named Andrew Barber who's like from back alley Indiana somewhere, you know what I mean? Came to Chicago, started leveraging Chicago specific hip hop and made millions of dollars, right? While creating a platform that said, this is what Chicago hip hop is. And everybody that was black was craving to be a part of his system. Right. And essentially when you start to crave being a part of his system, he dictates said outcomes of systems.
Absolutely.
Same thing with the guy Dave Mays from The Source. Right. So, I had a plethora of questions. They only had a certain amount of time, and being completely transparent, I want something out of that deal. I want something out of that conversation we just had. Right? I want something out of that conversation, and how do you get there? Right? How do you get to that conversation? But one of the things I wanted to get to without necessarily backing them into a corner, right, where they were afraid to answer the question. I think the most pertinent question that could have been asked is, what was the lineage or the impact of the Source on hip hop today? And if that, and it goes back to you say you don't pay for nothing and get what you want out the deal. Well, hip hop is our culture, and they talked around that shit, and it's become the culture. Right, and when it becomes the culture, it ain't anchored in our shit no more. Right. So we're paying for this. We're giving we're paying for it not in the sense of giving our dollars, but giving our resources to this culture, our ideas to this culture, our frequencies to this culture, and we're not getting shit out the deal.
Right.
What I'm saying is that's traditionally how we move through American life.
Right.
You said it don't happen nowhere but politics. I say it happens every fucking where.
Really, I disagree. I don't really see us accepting less than what we expect in any other way except politics.
But that's part of the illusion. I'm gonna give you a great example.
Okay.
Right? I used to make clothes when I first got out of college, right? That was my hustle, right? And understand the time, right? Context to time is important, right? This is on the cusp of Karl Kani. Black designers wasn't no shit that was, happening on every corner.
Right.
So there was a moment in time where I was getting paper.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I had on 106 in Park every day, somebody was on 106 in Park wearing my shit. That's how viable I was in the market space at the time. Right. So what that did was it pushed me kind of to learn in the industry. Right. So I go to trade shows here, there. I'm talking about every fucking way.
Yeah.
And what you start to realize is, because we ignorant to the industry, right? You start to realize that who controls the industry is who monetizes the industry best is whoever has the most retail spaces. Right. So when you think about it, at that particular time, it might not be the same today, but at that particular time, the people who own the retail space for the black community was the Korean community, the Arab community, and the Jewish community. Right. Those were the three people who owned that space. And what they did was they bought in bulk together. Right. Now that don't mean shit to you as the street consumer. But what you start to realize is that you're not making conscious choices even in your own style. What you're making conscious choices about is what to pick from for what they offered you. So essentially, they dictate your style. What I'm saying is they dictate the game from rooter to the tutor. We think we playing and we not. It's the same across the board for every goddamn industry. You've never made a decision outside of what they've given you to choose from.
I feel you. I feel. I just, it just shows up in such a way politically, right? And it don't matter if you're talking about the aldermanic level. It's like, oh, dude, can you fix my fucking street? Like when you was running for re-election, or you're running for election in the first place, you were out here all the time. Now I don't fucking see you. You might have a constituency day, like, well, y'all can come in here on Monday and I will have open door policy, but you ain't doing shit I'm asking for, right? And I think that, in a lot of other places, we wouldn't really go for that the way we do in politics. But your point is very, very clear, and I see what you're saying. I still think that politically, we just allow some fuck shit that we wouldn't otherwise allow in many other aspects of our society. Let's take another break. When we come back, I want to get through some of these comments and see what you guys thought about the interview with Dave Mays and Bakari Kitwana. See what you guys thought. See if there was anything that you guys chose to pull out of that particular conversation. This is I Said What I Said, Herb and 2. We'll be right back after this.
WIFTBPM.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
He is joining Chicago famous Mr. Rick Party.
I remember meeting the Brat before she was big. We were going to Jack the Rapper conference in Atlanta.
Jack the Rapper again.
So she's sitting, waiting for a plane. She got her braids in her hair, got her overalls on, and she saw me walk up to the gate. She's like, Rick Party, oh my God! hey, she's doing all of that. I said, well, who are you? She goes, I'm the Brat. I'm a new rapper from the, I live on the West Side. I'm with So Def. I'm about to meet Jermaine Dupri. I did some on Chris Cross's song. I think it was it The Bomb or something like that? Or Right. Yeah. She did some on there. So that was my introduction to her. So she would come back to my show every now and then and help me introduce the Coke Top 99. I remember we played a home jam and had people judge her song, right? And some people like, it's all right, it's okay. And she's like, yo,
Wow.
Straight West Side, man. It was great.
Straight West Side.
Yeah, so.
Chicago Famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Tax burden of the average middle class American goes way beyond income taxes. There are sales taxes, real estate taxes, gasoline taxes, and many, many more. As an international businessman, I know that by reducing the billions of dollars we give to other countries, we could help fund our own country. We need to rethink our tax laws and lower the taxes for our own citizens.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
Are you curious to explore the intellectual currents that channel our thoughts and frame our reality? Have you ever meditated for relaxation and accidentally discovered the universe in the process? These matters and many more you may never have even thought of will be yours to explore as you come with me into Muwakil's world. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
Boys, step aside. The radio rookie is in the building. The Book of Dawn, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on What's in It for the Black People Media.
WIFTVPN.
Live from What's in It for the Black Media Studio. You're listening to I Said What I Said.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you're listening to I Said What I Said.
I just said that.
I know you just said that.
That's what I just said.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Exactly what he just said.
With Herb Howard and Toussaint Werner.
That's about one of the nicest things you ever said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Shout out to Sonia Escobar. She's the absolute best in the business putting that sound bite together. I love that one. That's a good one. I dig that. I can't wait to hear the one you.
I wish y'all could see the way you stared.
See which one?
The way you were just staring, just because I didn't respond.
Yeah, because she don't want to talk to us. I'm literally having a conversation with her right in her face. She's looking at me like this.
So you starting to be a Confederate? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
She's standing right in front of the microphone, but she's just looking at me.
I don't want to do too much, It's your show, it's your culture, it's your.
It's all ours.
She got every reason for why she didn't want to talk to us. I'm telling y'all, we the black sheep of the What's in It for the Black People Media family. Like, that's us, but it's cool. We wear that role. We play that role well. Listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is I Said What I Said. My name is Herb. His name is Tu. That young lady behind the glass, her name is not to be mentioned because she don't fuck with us like that. But appreciate y'all anyway for tuning in. I hope you guys had a chance to catch the interview with Dave Mays and Bakari Kitwana. Tu, you're skeptical about the substance that could come from the summit. The back end.
I'm not skeptical about the substance that can come from it. I just think that, again, like we just had a conversation about the movie Capitalism on Netflix.
Sure.
I think we are all infected with the disease of capitalism, and I think once you start to acknowledge that, you got to ask deeper questions or understand the meaning behind shit, right? So that's exactly why I asked him. That's a pre-election kind of a deal.
Sure.
What's the post-election kind of a deal, right? And for about 5 minutes there, he just drug on a conversation. That's just, so in layman's terms, what's that mean? Because he didn't say it out of his mouth.
No.
Right? And I pushed him toward the conversation of reparations. He was saying it, but in a way that didn't offend somebody who's really not with the reparations conversation.
Yeah, but then when you push him there, he had a whole lot to say about reparations there, though.
Therein lies the conversation that we kind of got away from with even DJ Vlad, right? If you're operating from a space and place of power, then why the fuck I got to walk my thoughts around or across or sneak them into?
I say what I said.
I say what I say, and I believe in it. You know what I mean? It's kind of that kind of power structure. And because we are powerless people, we got the I say we're powerless people because we operate in a powerless kind of frequency, but we're really not a powerless people. Right? To go into the voting booth and vote down ballot would be a power move, right? But psychologically, because we kind of been codified. We've created a narrative through the lens of other people. It's like, nah, this is all we got, and so we kind of align ourselves with powerlessness instead of embracing what is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that it takes some type of courage, right? It takes a level of I guess I would call it courage. It
is courage,
right? It's just like not being a coward to say, hey, this is what I feel, this is what I want, I'm going to speak on it, right? I think that a lot of times what you end up with is people who are so desperately wanting to be accepted into mainstream American culture or into white culture, into white spaces, that they're going to tiptoe around everything. They aren't going to actually stand on shit.
Is it white culture and white spaces, or is it capital?
It's one and the same, I think.
I think white people own and dominate capital, right? And I think in order for us to get to capital, we got to engage white spaces. I don't think everybody else has that kind of a philosophy. I think that's a black philosophy rooted in the understanding of being American in a sense, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about black people though, right?
But again, me too. I am too. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is we need to ultimately change our narrative. We need to identify who we are. So when, let's say, we always compare ourselves to the Asian community, specifically in regards to politics, right? Is there alignment to the Asian community to essentially grow power out of community, or is there alignment to whiteness to assimilate into white communities? I think the black community has a kind of philosophy that in order for us to grow power or to grow capital, we must assimilate instead of to growing our community and growing capital out of community.
Right. But I think it's that lack of identity, right? It always goes back to that. It's that lack of identity. If you know who you are, right, then you can move in that space, right? You are very self-aware about who you are. I'm very self-aware about who I am. So it's very easy for me to sit behind this microphone, say what the fuck I want to say, right? That's how I feel, right? Like, as long as I'm reasonably knowledgeable on the subject, right? Then I'm gonna say how I'm gonna say it how I feel it, right? And I think that I'm not concerned with trying to assimilate into white culture, into these spaces, because I'm not looking for them to feed me in that way, right? You have a very unique skill set that allows you to feed yourself. I have a very unique skill set that allows me to feed myself. I'm not trying to go to work for these motherfuckers, right? So I'm gonna say what I want, and if what I have to say about it, gets me into these spaces, then fine. And if it keeps me out of those spaces, then that's fine too, right? But I think that people are desperate to get into those spaces, and so they're willing to do anything. They're willing to capitulate in whatever way they have to. Capitulate is the word that you used a month ago, but I really, really like the term, right? I think that's it's very, very real. I think that when you're trying so desperately to be in those spaces, you'll sacrifice so much of yourself till you look up and you don't even know who you are no more. Like, I see. So
Kang in the comments said Asians are assimilating. He's absolutely right.
Oh yeah, they're becoming white as hell.
But that's part of the design of America. So right, we keep saying they're becoming white as hell, or they're assimilating to white culture. The very nature of capitalism forces that identity shift. That's what I'm saying. So consciously, subconsciously, it might be I want to be close or in close proximity to whiteness, right? But
it's really the money.
The narrative is the money. The narrative is the money, right? And you just talked a minute about courage, right? So the courage is what? It's not the courage to say I don't want to be like white people. It's the courage to say I can sacrifice a couple dollars, because that's really what it comes down to. The minute you deny whatever the power source is, the biggest threat that they could wield on you is what? Strangling you from capital.
And then you go on an international I'm sorry Jewish community tour.
Period.
Because
you about to fuck up the money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if money is the value asset, how do you ever get away from that? Because they get all the goddamn money. 98% of the wealth in America is in the hands of white folks. Right. So you capitulate to white ideas. Not saying you want to.
Not like I want to be
align
like
myself
them, really.
with white people. Right.
I kind of want to be myself. I just want the bag.
Absolutely. I don't know none of us, and I'm only speaking for us.
Sure.
They just kind of want to hang out with white folks. I don't know. It's not fun. You know what I mean? Not being funny. You know what I mean? But let's think about it from that perspective. So it's the capital.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Dave Chappelle said, it's not that I didn't want to stay over at Timmy's house. He was like, it was just for dinner. He was like, it was just that in my experience at that time, white dinner wasn't delicious.
White dinner wasn't delicious. Dave is the greatest.
He is, man.
Shout out to Dave for that Emmy speech the other night too.
Yeah, he came out there smoking and talking, doing Dave.
Dave was like, fuck y'all.
He said, shout out to my wife. She's put up with the greatest comedian of all time for 25 years.
Dave is the biggest brand representation of I Said What I Said that the world has ever seen.
Yeah,
him and Bill Cosby. I mean, not Bill Cosby. I said Bill Cosby. Ooh, run that back. Rewind the tape. Nah, him and Richard Pryor, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck y'all, period.
Fuck y'all, period, right? He walked away from $50 million, right? Because the money don't move me like that, right? It's cool, right? But it don't move me in such a way to where I want to do something. I'm going to compromise my set of values. Now, you juxtapose that to another one of my very, very favorite comedians who I love. He's top 3 in my opinion, and that's Chris Rock, right? Chris Rock, also very, very conscious, very, very knowledgeable, and he's unafraid about saying certain things. But he'll go so far, right? He will capitulate for the bag, right? So, okay, we getting rid of Kevin Hart to host the Oscars. Get Chris Rock to do it, right? And whereas Dave Chappelle has been like, nigga, fuck you. No, I'm not doing it. He has a whole piece about, how good Kevin Hart was and, how he should have been on it. He wouldn't have took that shit. But Chris Rock was like, I'll take it, right? I'll go ahead and host the Oscars. I'm cool with it. And it's nothing against Chris Rock. I think he's very, very conscious, and he has a lot of material that speaks directly to race relations in America, right? But I think there's a different level of I don't give a fuck that comes with Dave Chappelle and comes with Richard Pryor that I think that very, very few people actually have, especially when you give them a platform or some potential to make capital off of it.
Why do you think they're not beholden to whatever the capitulating status is? Why they're not beholden to the money? Those two people specifically.
They don't really come from it. Well, no, Dave came from a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe it might be the opposite end of that actually, because Richard Pryor family, they have some paper, right? They own brothels and shit like that.
Paper though. If you selling hoes, you don't got no paper, and that's relative what?
Ain't no business like whole business.
That's relative to what? Being poor. You might have paper.
Varying degrees of poor.
I'm the king of 63rd Street.
Varying degrees of poor. We say it all the time.
That ain't no paper in the larger context.
Well, I don't know why they're like that. I don't know.
I don't have an answer neither. But
I don't even know why I'm like that.
But I say that in the sense.
I ain't never gave a fuck.
I said in the sense of, I always bring in that spiritual element to just understanding our plight in America. Mm-hmm. I think about when you start thinking about Dave and I think you think about Richard, they are legitimately at their eras the best at what they do.
Yeah.
Right. And part of being the best at what you do is kind of a spiritual journey. I've committed to this shit in a way that this is my life's purpose.
There you go.
Right? And once you understand that, then you're not beholden to shit else.
No. You've tapped into the source, right? You've tapped into the source in a real way that says, this is my purpose. These are the gifts that I was given by the Creator to do these types of things. Now, could I go do some other shit? Have I learned some other things to be able to do? Absolutely. But none of those things makes me feel as good doing them as the things that were my natural gifts, the things I'm supposed to be doing, my actual purpose. And I think that when you're walking in your purpose, then you're not really willing to be knocked off your square so easily. You aren't willing to capitulate in that type of way. You're reading the comment that's interesting to you. I can see it on your face. Who is it and what they say?
Talking shit. It's not interesting. It's just very racist, and I'm not going to say it out loud.
Very racist, and I'm not going to say it out loud. Okay, I won't say it. I don't even know which one you're talking about. But listen, I just think that by and large, because capitalism is what it is in America, and the pursuit of the bag is what it is by almost everyone who was born and raised in America, that's going to be at the forefront of every decision that they make. And it's not for me, right? It's not for you, right? I've seen you turn down big bags for shit that's like, I don't really believe in that kind of shit, right? I'm going to still be able to feed my family. I'm cool, right? And other people, like, that's the forefront of their decision. That's the very first thing to decide. I don't know if that's
smart or dumb. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if that's the smart thing to do or the dumb thing to do.
It depends on what it is that you're trying to get, right? Like, if you're trying to get money, then it's dumb, right?
So
if you're trying to live...
Characters is important to me.
Right. Then it's not dumb.
But I also understand that I'm an aberration because it's not important to most folks. It's not important to the, when I die on my gravesite, it's not going to say, here lies a man of great character.
No.
What the fuck does that mean? My children can't eat character. Right. So when I think about it in that context, yeah, it might be foolish pride for right now. But I said this on my Facebook page, that we're trying to build something bigger than our bank accounts, even in regards to like this conversation and this radio show and this podcast.
If you guys want to contribute to the show, hit the little gold star on the bottom.
That's right. Hit them stars.
We don't give a fuck about money.
Right there, hit them stars, Chuck. But no, dead ass, right?
No, for real.
Stars fuel us being able to do this, right? But
no,
at the same time, I think that we have to start planting seeds for something greater, because we are about to, in the next 15 years, 10 to 15 years, we're about to see the greatest wealth transference in the history of mankind.
From where to where?
From old white folks to not as old white folks. Right? And the balance is so off kilter already that legitimately, and we're moving into this kind of fourth industrial revolution.
Asking you shall receive. Thank you, Demetrius, for the stars. We appreciate it.
And we're moving into this kind of fourth industrial revolution where there legitimately is there no need for people. Right? So we kind of at the precipice of what the fuck happens to people.
Right.
Not, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have any intrinsic value, how do you what happens?
People ain't spitting nobody. Fuck people. It ain't about people, right? It's a line.
So, but in that vein, though, character becomes immensely important, right? Because it's going to be character that's going to drive the revolution, whatever that looks like.
Right.
It's going to drive the revolution to the next phase of existence. Because without it, extinction.
You don't have nothing.
It's
right.
extinction.
Right. And I think that is the piece that I find that is I'm able to lay down comfortably at night and rest well, knowing that I've never had to do any fuck shit to be accepted. I've never compromised myself in any way for this bit of money or to be a part of this group or that group. And I think that for me, that's more valuable than a bag that I'm gonna. It'll be gone, right? You'll get some money, you'll do something with it, it'll be gone, whatever, right? I'm not finna really compromise myself on that. And I feel I take a great sense of pride in being able to honestly say that I've never done no shit like that, right? I've never, compromised my values or my morals for a bag. And that's not to say I've never done anything for money that other people would say, oh, you shouldn't do that, right? Like some people might say, oh, you shouldn't. Whatever, right?
Have you ever compromised it? Have you ever compromised it for some box though?
All the time.
But see, we laughing, and I asked that on purpose because what America does is it feeds whatever your vice is.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It
Sure.
feeds whatever your vice is. You like little boys? Oh, we got little boys for you.
That's
you
true.
like little girls? We got little girls for you. Think about what's the dude that's in the news right now? The guy who had the plane with the
Epstein.
Oh, okay. Right? That ain't out of nowhere, bro.
Oh no, that's very real.
Them people like little girls.
Yeah.
And he established himself in a way that gave him immense power because he could provide them with little girls.
Yeah.
So they feed whatever your fucking vice is. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what power looks like. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Right.
Right. And what we're doing is we're entering into a space. My fault. We're entering into a space and place where there's no value or there's no need for like a lower class, a labor force.
No.
And when the power elite is we see how the power elite operate, right? How many motherfuckers' names is on that Epstein flight chart there? You be like, damn, Bill Clinton was on that plane? I mean, these are powerful people
That's real.
who was on that plane.
That's real.
Now, you don't have no proof to say they did X, Y, Z, they did this, but what the fuck other reason would you have to be on his plane?
Why you got 10 60-year-old white men and a few 13-year-old white girls like that? Like that's what's happening here, right? You got pictures with Epstein and Donald Trump, the president of the United States, and little ass girls. Like that's unacceptable.
I'm gonna feed whatever vice,
which is also why he wasn't gonna walk about that jail cell. You're gonna die.
His ass walked about that jail cell. He ain't dead.
You don't think he's dead?
That motherfucker's on that island chilling, eating coconut milk. He's chilling like.
Well, he's silenced forever.
Whatever. But I'm on the island.
Okay, that's cool.
Chilling.
That's cool. That's cool. My point is that he knew way too much. He knows where too many bones are buried on too many powerful people, and that's not a safe space to be in. Right? That can get you killed like quick.
But it's an equitable space to be in.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? He can maximize capitalization around that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He definitely monetized little girls, right?
For sure.
And who did he monetize little girls for? He himself, one, right. and an uber aristocracy.
Anybody like him.
Level of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that's what America does. It feeds whatever that
No, I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, you mean your point was well made. I've never done that for bread. I've never, you know what I'm saying? I ain't never like crossed none of my partners for money, right? But hit one of my partner's ex-girlfriend before. Like I had
a snake for real. You a snake.
I had to tell him.
You told him.
Of course, you gotta tell him.
Before or after?
After.
You are a snake.
No, bro. Listen. I'm dead ass about this.
Herb's a snake.
No, I'm not. Listen to me. This is my true philosophy on this thing. If ever any one of my partners, right, best friends, brothers, you, whatever, right, if a woman that I am in a committed relationship with is willing to have sex with you, you have sex with her.
This ain't Friday.
Then just call and tell me.
Today ain't Friday.
No, I'm serious though, right? I'm talking about this piece like do it, right? And then call and tell me, because if she's willing to, she's already smoked her integrity. I already don't need to be with her. You don't need to be with her anymore.
Herb's character would not allow him to lead the revolution.
Call it what you want, right?
I'm calling it that.
Okay, so what should I do then? Right? Like, oh, hey, your girl kind of want to get at me, right? I'm not gonna do it so y'all can stay together. She's she ain't shit, bro. You need not be with her.
Saying no is powerful, bro.
That's fine, but you still need not be with her.
That ain't your decision to make, but you can make the
decision.
I'm gonna help you
make the decision.
No.
I'm gonna help you make the decision.
See, yeah, that's what America does.
Your girl ain't shit.
It oversteps his bounds.
Your girl ain't shit, and you need to know it. Like you need to know it. Like whatever. That's what I believe. My girl or whoever. That's what I believe.
It's just a sick belief system there, Herb.
So I should just let you walk around with this girl that I know that she's willing to fuck your best friend.
Today ain't Friday, so back to the conversation that we was having.
Okay,
about power in the context.
Sorry,
of power,
Bueller.
Right?
Two took the conversation to the left.
So it's
Bueller
2:52, right? So we only got like 8 minutes left. Yeah. But I really wanted to kind of get into this. What's my man's name? DJ Vlad joint. Right. We didn't finish that because the call with Dave and Bakari came in, and there's this kind of conversation and this happening between my son, Lord Jamar, the other comedian brother, the African brother from Chicago, the comedian.
You mentioned him earlier.
I mentioned him. I can't remember his name right now for some reason, but
I can see his goofy
and
ass
Royce
face
the 5'9", and it's a conversation that's happening amongst black folks, right? About Vlad TV. Vlad's not engaging in the conversation anymore,
right?
At least he's not engaging in the conversation publicly.
Right.
Now he might be pushing buttons with those people who are supporting him behind closed doors.
Right.
But now the visibility of the conversation that's taking place is all being driven by all these black people debating where Vlad should fall in our culture.
Right.
Right. And Royce is saying fuck dude, and the other dudes are saying, well, he took the post down, it's okay. Right.
It's not okay.
And in context, though, when I look at that from the outside looking in, I think that is the totality of how black people operate in America. And what that is, in my opinion, again, what that's solely based in,
Godfrey. Thank you, Kay.
Yeah, what that's solely based in is us not having a full understanding of identity, right? And I think Royce is speaking specifically from the perspective of black masculinity, saying, nah, fuck that shit. This is what we standing on, and we standing on that shit. Nothing else matters. What's the Drake line? You don't fuck with us, we don't fuck with you neither. Right? And that's a kind of a male behavior. It's not very, what's the word I want to use here? It's not very elastic. It don't stretch too far. Once the barriers have been set, them is the fucking barriers.
Yeah.
You cross the gun line, boss, you don't cross the gun line.
Right.
Shit gonna change.
Right.
Then you have this other group of people who kind of capitulate. And the reason they're mainly capitulating, Godfrey, Lord Jamar, and even my son, is that they all have leverage dude for access, right? And they all need dude for access. Now, Royce popping all that shit, but there's other conversations that have happened over time with Eminem.
Yeah,
the guy he's leveraged.
Yeah.
For access
and
opportunity.
Yeah.
And he's dumbed that shit down, or when at the black people, they were saying the exact same shit.
Right.
So it's about which levels and which boss you align yourself with.
Right.
But the reality of it is, as black men, we got to start standing in the polarity where there ain't no boss above us. It's only us. Stand in that godly
That's what
polarity.
I'm saying. It's godly, right?
You know what I mean?
From the time you born, ain't no fucking boss. Like, you were created in God's image. You are a God. Like, you your own fucking boss. Write this fucking story yourself, right? And not having these people above you, right? And I think that for me, I've said this before. Anytime I hear somebody put someone above them, it tells me something about them that I don't like, right? Because if you think there's somebody above you, what does that also tell me? That you think there's somebody below you, right? And I don't really care if you are at the top floor of, one of these Fortune 500 companies. You ain't no fucking better than me, right? And I also don't care if you sleeping under the bridge on Wacker. You know worse than me, right? We all people, and we right here. You the boss of your shit, I'm the boss of my shit, and I don't care where other people would place us on that spectrum. So when I hear people say, oh, this dude is above me and I gotta capitulate and I gotta kiss ass to do, like, nah, okay, so what do you think about the dude laying on the street when you walk past him? You don't even see him, do you? Like, fuck him, right?
But I think that's part of, I was talking about the documentary Capitalism. I think, there's books about this too, but I think, the documentary on Netflix is an easy one to digest.
Sure.
So if you got a moment, man, I implore everybody to go watch the documentary on capitalism on Netflix, because I think what we got to understand is like how that capitalism has been leveraged for the last 3 centuries, right? Because just like the brother Bakari Kitwana was saying, is that it morphs, white supremacy morphs and it evolves, right? But although it morphs and evolves, it only morphs and evolves per our perspective, because in reality, this shit is very cyclical. All these strategies have been used before at some point in history, right? But because we don't understand the narratives and we don't create the narratives, and we really ain't invested in the narratives, right? So we ain't even looking for the goddamn information, right? But the information moves on this kind of like revolving scale, and if you have a historic view or historic understanding of the information, you can see the plays being made 10 years in advance.
Sure.
Because it's the same goddamn playbook, it's just being used at different times, right? I'm not running the same play 3 times in a row. I'm gonna just mix this shit up a little bit, right? But if I line up everybody on the left side, you can pretty much gauge, this is what the fuck
we going that way, right?
We going right, you know what I'm saying? We going that way. So in that vein, and I implore everybody to kind of look at this the context of the Netflix thing about capitalism, because when I say that we're about to approach the largest wealth transfer in the history known to man, it's going to take us back to that pre-1700 kind of era where there is only like an aristocracy that kind of is only the people with capital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your children legitimately might be eating out of garbage cans just to survive. Like that shit is on the cusp right now. You know what I mean? And I think we need to start addressing politics. We need to start addressing lineage. We need to start addressing unity, because I've heard that mentioned in the comment. From that perspective, right? If this is what we're facing, what kind of vigor and what kind of rapport do we have to overcome the possibilities of this future that we about to inherit?
Very, very well said, brother. We are out of time. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in. Thank you all so much for contributing your thoughts into the comment section. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. Big thanks to Dave Mays and to Bakari Kitwana for coming on and joining us here on I Say What I Said.
And shout out to TJ Crawford too, though, because TJ Crawford helped us put that together, man.
Shout out TJ. TJ is plugged in everywhere. Thank you for connecting us, bro. Listen, coming up next, Chicago famous Mike Love and Diz every weekday 3 to 6 right here on What's in It for the Black People Media for Toussaint Warner and for super producer Miss Sonia Escobar. My name is Herb Howard. Until next time, which will be Wednesday at 1 p.m., y'all be good to each other. Peace.